Now, knowing you, I know that you're aware of the things that people are saying. You're moving up in two-weight classes. You're the smaller man. Whatever you do, Terence Crawford, don't exchange against them. What do you feel you have to do?
Be myself. I'm 41-0 for a reason.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not the quickest showdown.
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career.
For more than 20 years, fans assumed Floyd Mayweather's flawless 50-0 record was untouchable. Inside the ropes, he was a phantom, an untouchable defensive genius who turned world champions into average fighters. But then came one unforgettable night, and with it, a single bold declaration from the only man to share the ring with both fighters. That statement shook the very foundation of Mayweather's legacy. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about greatness. It was about whether Floyd's entire reign had just been surpassed. The spark was lit the moment Terence Crawford's hand was raised after his stunning victory over Canelo Alvarez, accomplishing what many insisted could never be done.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this four-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight.
The real twist arrived during the post-fight press conference. With the world's media pressing for comparisons, Canelo was asked how Crawford stacked up against his old rival, Floyd Mayweather. Without skipping a beat, he gave a direct response, one that instantly sent shockwaves through the boxing community.
If you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence "Bud" Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Coming from the only man alive who had shared the ring with both fighters, his words carried far more weight than a casual opinion. It was a bombshell, one that sent tremors through the boxing world. That single remark reignited a debate that had lingered in the sport for years, but now it was impossible to ignore. And almost instantly, another powerful voice was pulled into the conversation. Stephen A. Smith, watching closely, admitted he was stunned by what unfolded. Like many, he assumed Crawford would lean on his technical brilliance and stick to a safe outside strategy against the bigger man. Instead, Crawford tore up the script.
Well, I appreciate Crawford making my prediction come through. Coming into the fight, I had him winning by decision. I thought he was the superior boxer. I thought he would be able to take a punch. And as long as he didn't stay there and exchange with Canelo, I thought he could do it. What surprised me is that there were times during the fight, he did stand there and exchange with Canelo and took it. Took some body shots to the liver, took some headshots, exchanged, and still ended up winning this fight. I thought from the 8th round on, he just put on a boxing clinic. They gotta give credit where credit is due. Crawford deserved to win the fight.
Smith was left stunned by what he witnessed. Crawford didn't just hold his ground, he walked straight into the storm, trading punches with Canelo to prove he wasn't only about finesse. He showed grit, toughness, and the willingness to fight fire with fire, Smith admitted. What shocked me was seeing him stand his ground, trade shots, and still come out on top. He explained that after 9 rounds, he had the fight scored 5-4 for Crawford, before Bud closed the show in emphatic fashion, dominating the final 3 rounds with a masterclass in boxing. Crawford absorbed Canelo's best punches and answered back, thriving in situations where most fighters his size would have folded.
Crawford is a special fighter because he's got a mean streak. He doesn't back up from anything. He's usually the superior boxer in the ring. He finds a way to win. No matter who he's going up against, no matter what power you have, what boxing skills you have, he is truly a generational kind of fighter. He wants to go in the ring and not just beat you, but show you he was a better man. And he's out known to believe that just a knockout does that. He likes outboxing you and showing you that his skill level is superior to yours. And he showed it tonight.
Stephen A. hailed Crawford's showing as a true masterclass, but he stopped short of crowning him the best ever. As impressed as he was, Smith reminded fans of another figure, a ghost-like presence who once ruled the ring. In his eyes, Crawford's grit and brilliance still hadn't eclipsed the man known for making opponents miss and look ordinary. Floyd Mayweather.
Mayweather was undefeated for the last half of his career with one hand. He constantly broke his hand.
Yeah.
He would go into a ring knowing he had no shot at knocking somebody out because his hands were hurt too much, and literally walked in the ring and said, I'm gonna embarrass you and humiliate you by showing the world you can't hit me.
This was the moment Stephen A. Smith drew a clear line in the sand, shifting the tone of the entire debate. He reminded fans that Floyd Mayweather was unlike anyone else, a defensive puzzle no opponent could solve. His brilliance wasn't built on brute force, but on the art of not being touched. Smith pointed out that Floyd's hands, plagued by injuries in the latter half of his career, meant he couldn't rely on knockout power. That limitation, however, only made his mastery more remarkable, forcing him to perfect a style focused on precision, timing, and control.
Floyd Mayweather looks me in my face and he says, I'm gonna take him out about the 8th or 9th round. And I said, your hands are always broken. You ain't known for your punching power since you moved up from lightweight to welterweight. Why are you so sure you're gonna do this? He said, Stephen A., he's a UFC fighter. He said, and he's a striker. He's accustomed to coming at you and throwing punches. What he's not accustomed to doing is punching while he's throwing backwards, while he's moving backwards and pushing you off of him. He says, I'm gonna walk right into him and stay in his chest. He's gonna have to push me off in order to throw his punches. He said he's gonna be circling the ring. He said by around 4 or 5, he's not gonna have any legs. He's gonna be done. And he said, and I'll just toy with him and keep him around until around the 8th or the 9th round. And that is exactly what Floyd Money Mayweather did. He told me exactly what he was gonna do, and he did it.
He's the man.
Mayweather himself has openly acknowledged the fragility of his hands, even admitting that in the build-up to the Conor McGregor fight, he was unable to spar for nearly a month because of lingering injuries.
You hurt your hand? Right here. Huh? I thought you hurt your hand. That's myself. Okay. All right. Relax, baby. The job is done already.
Put in a bucket of ice, man. Yeah. Get a bucket of ice. Just chilling.
I'm saying Shane hit me with a hell of a shot. Okay. Actually, 2 shots.
Oh, okay.
But even in that particular round, what I said to Shane was this. I was like,
You yourself said something to him when you grabbed him.
I said, you gotta kill me.
Oh, shit.
I said,
I wasn't ready, Floyd.
I said, that was a good one. I said, that was a good one, but you gotta kill me.
Wow.
So you gotta kill me. And did I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I meant it.
Adding fuel to the debate, many have pointed out that in the later years of his career, Mayweather almost always fought in Las Vegas, one of the few commissions that permitted fighters to use numbing injections, such as xylocaine, to manage chronic hand pain. For critics, this wasn't just coincidence, but a sign that his fragile hands shaped both the location and strategy of his fights. Yet rather than being exposed, Floyd turned that limitation into dominance, building a style so elusive that he became virtually untouchable.
Rocky Marciano was 49-0. Before Floyd got to 50-0, he was a heavyweight champ. Did anyone ever consider Rocky Marciano the GOAT? No, not seriously, no. Why would Floyd be considered the GOAT? Because he beat more fighters than Rocky did, more great ones? That's true. But really, Floyd was careful in the way he selected opponents. Don't get that twist. It's not that Floyd didn't fight a lot of great fighters. He did. It's not that I don't think he would have beaten a lot of the tougher fighters than he fought. I think he probably would have, but he didn't do it. He waited. He waited till Pacquiao wasn't at his best anymore. He didn't fight Margarito when Margarito was tearing everyone up. He waited for the right time to fight people. He got paid twice as much for fighting Pacquiao in a less dangerous fight than he would have had he fought him when everyone wanted to see him fight. Floyd is among the all-time greats, but he ain't number one.
Trainer Greg Hackett backed up this perspective, pointing out that the version of Mayweather who outclassed Canelo represented the pinnacle of a complete, refined fighter. In his view, Floyd's game was airtight, disciplined, polished, and unshakable under pressure. By contrast, Hackett suggested that Crawford, for all his brilliance, carries a more unpredictable edge, sometimes resembling the explosive but less polished tendencies seen in fighters like Deontay Wilder.
I can't say he's capping. Because I don't know what he felt. But when I heard that, what I think is When Floyd beat me, I was 23. I wasn't polished. When Bud beat me, I was the man. I was the man. And he beat me fair and square. He beat me at my game and he beat me at his game. That's why Canelo said that. Do I believe that? It's tough to believe. But I can only take Canelo's word because he's the man that's been in the ring with both of them. But I understand why he said it. I was a kid when I fought Floyd. He wasn't a kid literally, but he was young. He was young. There was a lot he didn't know. There was a lot he didn't understand about boxing that he later on learned and got better. But Bud beat the better version of me, even though it's the ran down version. I'm saying that because it is some wear and tear there with Canelo. I've been saying it the whole time. When a guy got almost 70 fights in current time, with all those big camps he's been doing and all that, trust me, it's some wear and tear there. I'm not making excuses for Canelo. I'm just saying.
I don't know. That's what it gives it that air.
I also think you got to remember when you talking about a Mexican fighter, they big on punishment. He might also feel Crawford punches harder than Floyd and took more chances than Floyd took. Floyd really was super speed that night. Everything speed, and it irritated Canelo because Canelo couldn't do what he wanted to do, and he looked nothing like himself. Like I said, I think it was just times where Canelo felt like, damn, I could have had it. With Floyd, I think he felt like paralyzed. Like, damn, I can't catch this motherfucker. He too fast. But with Crawford, I felt like he maybe was saying, damn, I could have, if I would have threw this, or if I would have did that. You know what I mean? Because it was times Crawford sat there and caught a punch and countered back. You know what I'm saying? He let Canelo throw, like, go ahead, throw your shit. He caught that shit, boom, and come right back with the hook. Same shot he caught Earl with. He was touching Canelo with some of that same shit, man. And it was just like, and it was times where Crawford was imposing himself on Canelo. He was stepping to Canelo at times. He didn't do it the whole fight, but I'm just saying it was times he stepped to him. Floyd did too, but Floyd just was so fast, so much faster. And the education was like totally different. Like when Canelo fought Floyd, Canelo was in middle school. He wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Floyd by that time was already a Harvard graduate. You know what I'm saying?
So in Stephen A's own words, the difference wasn't about talent alone. It was about philosophy. Crawford showed he could walk through fire and trade with bigger men, but Mayweather, Smith argued, built his legend on never needing to. To him, Floyd wasn't just skilled, he was untouchable. A master who controlled every detail of the fight without taking unnecessary risks.
Sit up there and say that. I think that Floyd Mayweather was such a magician defensively. And we have to look at Floyd Money Mayweather in this regard. Once he moved up to welterweight, his hands were always damaged. So he kind of knew he wasn't going to be able to knock you out for the most part. And still, he walked into the ring and put on masterful performances because he was so superior, skill-wise and defensively. You can't say enough. Tonight with Crawford, for example, we saw him take a punch on several occasions. With Floyd, we didn't see that too often because you couldn't hit him. That's the difference.
Crawford, by contrast, showed he could take Canelo's best shots. He proved his chin, his grit, and his willpower. But for Stephen A., the very need to demonstrate toughness highlighted the difference. Floyd rarely, if ever, allowed himself to be in that position. Still, before the back and forth could spiral further, some observers stepped back to frame it differently. This wasn't just a question of ability, it was a question of eras. Even Crawford himself spoke with respect, admitting, Floyd was the best of his time, and I believe I'm the best of mine.
He just got something that I want.
And it's not just the title, it's what else?
It's everything. He got everything. And I'm coming to get it.
And when you beat him, you'll have everything.
That's right.
This viewpoint adds an important layer of nuance. Greatness isn't a straight line, but something tied to the era in which a fighter reigns supreme. Adding to the complexity is the role of age. Floyd's uncle, Jeff Mayweather, once noted that Floyd was already 36 and beyond his physical peak when he faced a young Canelo. That context makes it far more complicated to line up a prime Crawford against a battle-tested version of Canelo for a direct, fair comparison.
Well, also if we remember, Canelo you know, that time was a razor-thin decision. Floyd won, majority decision. C.J. Ross had it with what a lot of people had as a draw. And then the other two judges scored it for Floyd, of course. And that was a Floyd at the top of his game with a very green Canelo with very little experience, and he took him, you know, into deep waters. So
what was Canelo? What, 20-something? 20 what? 23, 25?
Yeah, he was. Very, very young in the game, obviously.
Very young. He had more fights than Floyd, and he lost.
Yeah, but
a man that was 30-something years old, 36.
But Floyd was clearly at the top of his career, and Canelo had fought a lot of people, but
how you at the top of your career in your prime? You in your prime. You ain't in your prime when you're 36.
It shifts the conversation away from a simple head-to-head debate and instead portrays them as two champions, each reigning over their own distinct era in boxing history.
We've had a lot of comparisons between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. We've even had the conversation to go as far as who would win in a fight between Terence and Floyd, and I truly don't know the answer to that question.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. Who will win that fight?
Floyd.
Floyd will win that fight.
Yes, sir. I
Floyd
love you, Terence.
Always figures it out.
Yeah,
he's
a
chess master.
Yeah, his IQ and that
The
shit.
funny thing about it is Terence has been the only other guy that people can say he always figures it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
But you gotta have an OG somewhere.
Anybody else? Yeah.
There's an OG
Somebody
somewhere.
gotta pioneer it, right? Yeah, you gotta.
There's an OG you can't out-figure out somewhere. And I just believe Floyd is that OG you can't out-figure out.
The debate about their primes and defensive brilliance will always be complicated. But one fact remains undeniable. Terence Crawford has accomplished something that Floyd Mayweather never managed to achieve.
In accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
By defeating Canelo, Terence Crawford etched his name into history as the first male fighter to ever become undisputed in 3 separate weight divisions. The magnitude of this accomplishment was immediately recognized, with influential voices in the sport, including Turki Al-Sheikh, declaring Crawford the fighter of the century. To put it into perspective, Floyd Mayweather collected championships in 5 different divisions, an extraordinary feat, but he never unified all 4 belts in a single class. Crawford, meanwhile, did it not once, not twice, but 3 times. This wasn't the result of chance. Crawford revealed afterward that his camp revolved around intense strength training to ensure his body could absorb and withstand Canelo's power, preparing him for every possible scenario. The victory solidified a legacy uniquely his own, proving he conquered full divisions in a way even Mayweather didn't. But the contrast between their careers goes beyond championship belts. It comes down to philosophy. Floyd Mayweather wasn't just a boxer. He was a brand and the architect of his own career. As Max Kellerman observed, once Floyd moved beyond the lightweight ranks, he became a master of timing and strategy. He dictated when and where fights happened, carefully balancing risk against reward, and in doing so, built a business empire as much as a boxing resume.
It's wild, because if you look at Floyd's resume, it's much deeper than Crawford's. And Floyd was faster and he had a better defense and all that stuff. But Floyd picked and chose when he fought guys, especially once he left lightweight. He wiped out the junior lights, bring him. Lightweight, he jumps up to Jose Luis Castillo first thing. A lot of people think he lost the first fight, I didn't, but then he won the rematch. But once he left lightweight, he was careful about when he fought guys. So even though his resume is deeper with names, people remember, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times.
That carefully calculated approach, however, hasn't gone without criticism. Many from today's generation see it differently. Rising star Ryan Garcia even voiced a blunt opinion, claiming Mayweather's real genius wasn't just in the ring, but in choosing the right moment, knowing exactly when to face an opponent and when to wait. Garcia argued that this kind of selectiveness reshaped boxing in a negative way, setting a precedent where the biggest names avoided clashing at their absolute peaks.
Y'all talking about this kid Ryan Garcia. Tank got his followers from kicking. Ryan Garcia got his followers from YouTubers. There's a difference. So you want to be a YouTuber or you want to be a fighter? Tank is a fighter.
How did Gervonta know that my rib got separated while I was in the fight? Or before the fight? How do you think they got the information? You got to pay. Who do you think told me that they paid? So I know how much money it takes to betray Ryan Garcia. I know a little glimpse.
Crawford, by contrast, has built his reputation as a relentless force, never shying away from the toughest challenges. In a hypothetical prime versus prime showdown, the tale of the tape highlights some key advantages. He stands slightly taller than Floyd, but more importantly, carries a 3-inch edge in reach, a detail that could tilt a technical chess match inside the ring, even against a peak Mayweather. Unlike Floyd's famously selective matchmaking, Crawford's career has been marked by a willingness to take on all comers, consistently calling out the best names in the sport. Beyond his fearless mindset, experts often emphasize the tangible physical gifts that set him apart. As former champion Shane Mosley once observed,
I think Crawford is better. It would have been a tough fight, but I think Crawford would have the edge over Mayweather because of the long arms and because it's bigger. But Mayweather's definitely a technician. I mean, like Crawford said, Mayweather has his era, and Crawford, this is his era.
Where Mayweather carefully engineered an untouchable fortress around his career, Crawford has approached the sport like a conqueror, storming through divisions and claiming territory with sheer dominance. Yet, even with Crawford's historic run, not everyone is willing to embrace the comparison. A faction of critics dismisses the debate entirely, arguing that aside from both being generational talents, their styles are so different that stacking one against the other misses the point.
One analyst didn't mince words, stating, "Terence Crawford is not Floyd Mayweather. They're just both black. That's the only similarity."
That wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss future uploads. We'd also love to hear your take. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.